everybody. Welcome to the Straight Outta BS podcast. Thank you guys for your continued support. I really appreciate it. Thanks to anybody that's continued to share the videos, like the videos. We've had a little bit of a surge in, like, we're getting some decent views for this channel, you know, right now. So it's pretty consistent. So let's keep it up. Let's keep up the momentum. And like just this week alone, I think we've gotten like 6 new subscribers or something like that, which is crazy. So it's not a lot in the like huge scheme of things, but for this channel, it's pretty big. So please keep pushing it out there. Please keep sharing the videos, liking the videos, leaving comments. If you leave multiple comments if you want, just it shows the algorithm that people are interacting. And also, the longer the comment, it shows that people are like having like thoughtful discussion or whatever. So it'll push the videos out there even more. So just like post how you feel or how the episode made you feel and stuff like that. And it really helps, and it's free. So that would just really help me out. So thanks to anybody that's donated financially. Thank you to my Patreon members, anybody that's joined the channel. That's never expected, so it's always really appreciated. So thank you all for that. I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So on the count of 3, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and reintroduce or introduce a return guest. Go ahead and give us a brief introduction of who you are and like just a little bit of your story, and then you can go into what you wanted to discuss this episode.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Elise. I went to Crosscreek Manor 2002, 2003. And last time we talked about all that, so I'm not going to go into that story again. But since then, I've struggled with addiction and anxiety and depression, and I feel like so many of the kids that go through these programs struggle with the same things, and we all know that these programs don't work in helping any of that. It just makes it worse, and I feel like a lot of us kind of got lost in that. And traditional therapy, I feel, especially with addiction and the traditional gold standard of AA and addiction therapy, is not really helping us at all. So within my own struggles, I, like back in, I think 2020, or maybe even earlier than that, I was in traditional therapy, and I wasn't really getting what I wanted out of it. So I went on this self-healing journey, and I found basically hypnosis. And I know a lot of people have qualms about hypnosis and how it's like mind control and whatnot. But in my study, I've actually studied as a practitioner. I have my a certificate in general hypnosis, so hypnotherapy, and then I have additional certificates in addiction hypnotherapy and PTSD hypnotherapy. So there's different techniques to use. And what I learned when I was studying the addiction hypnosis is basically that it's a habit in our brain. So our brains are set up to automate anything. So anything said with repetition, thought with repetition, done with repetition becomes an automatic response in your brain. And bringing it back to these programs, you're told for how long what a piece of shit you are. You know, that does something to your brain chemistry, and it gets implanted in there. And then you kind of act out based off of these untruths that have been planted in your brain. And for me personally, I don't want to speak for everybody, but addiction for me was an escape. My brain learned that, hey, we don't have to think about all of these horrible things that we've been through, and this makes us feel better. And so your brain goes, oh, this is how I feel better. And then it's like a heat-seeking missile, and it automates that. This is how I feel better. And it becomes like this well-worn path in your brain, and it's just automatic. And I know for me, when I was deep in my addiction, my family would come to me and be like, what's wrong? Like, how can we help you? You need to get off drugs, like just pleading with me. And I would literally, the program basically stare them in the face and say, because I'm an addict and this is what I'm always going to be, and this is why And it wasn't helping anybody. I mean, even when I got into NA, it was the same thing. Hi, my name is Elise and I'm an addict. It's an incurable disease that I'm going to have the rest of my life, that I have to fight against it for the rest of my life. And that's so disempowering to the addict. It takes all of their power away to make any type of change. And it's just not helpful. And the thing that I've come to realize is that what's helpful is a sense of purpose. And when you feel like a piece of shit and you've been told that you're a piece of shit and everything in your fault or everything bad in your life is your own fault, you have no power or motivation to feel like you can change anything. You become a victim of circumstance, basically. And that mentality is really manifests itself in all different aspects of our life, whether you're using or not. And this is something else that addiction gets wrong, like gambling addiction. There's food addictions. Like it's just this one thing in your brain that it automates because whatever you did made you feel good. And so the brain's doing exactly what it's meant to do perfectly, which is automate your life based off of your beliefs and your perceptions of the world. So have you heard of the study of Rat Park?
Well, possibly. Did it have to do with rats?
Yeah. So the study of the addiction. So I think it was back in the 40s, and I forgot who did the original study, but he put rats in a cage and gave them cocaine and heroin out of their water feeders, and they hit the button until they died.
Yeah.
And he said, look at this experiment. Drugs kill. Drugs are so addictive. They're so addictive that the rat will do it until it kills itself.
Well, because it wasn't given any other option.
Also. Yes, exactly. Yeah, because what do you? It's a rat stuck in a cage, and so this other I don't know, the doctor did this study, and he did the same study, but he gave them enrichment. He put the boys and girl rats in the same cage. He gave them toys. He gave them food, water, all of these things to do in their life, and also gave them cocaine and heroin. And what he found was, yes, some rats still went and used the cocaine and heroin, but none of them did it excessively, and none of it did it to the point of harming. So what that tells us, what that tells me, is that it's not about the drug. The drug isn't addictive. It's about the cage that you're in, and the cage that you're in is a mental state. And
I feel like it's kind of both. You know, because the drugs are addicting, but there's like also a part of you that is addicted to the drug. So I feel like it's a 50-50 kind of give and take thing. But I feel like too many people put complete emphasis on the drug being, addicting when there's just like another part to it. So yeah.
And yes, especially with like heroin, your body becomes addicted. You physically become addicted to that drug. Now, if you detox and the drug is not physically in your body anymore, then why are you going back to the drug? It's 50-50. Like once, and I mean, I can't tell you how many times I detoxed before I actually got clean, and the drugs weren't in my system. And most people don't want to talk about the most addictive drug is tobacco, is nicotine. And
that has a monopoly. They have pretty much a monopoly. Them and alcohol have pretty much a monopoly,
and alcohol is easily accessible. Another one is gambling. Gambling is highly addictive, and it's like there's no substance with gambling. There's no substance in food.
People will gamble away their last dollar. They'll literally bet their house. They'll bet their entire house, like everything they've ever owned, just because, I got like 2 million. Fuck it. I'm going to see if I can make that like 4 or 5. It's just like, dude, just get 2 million and walk away. Like,
be happy, right?
Be happy you got that. Like,
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And so this idea that the drugs are the problem is, it just irks me. Um, and yeah, the study of Rat Park and that's the same for like PTSD too. PTSD is a habit in the brain. As far as I believe, because you're stuck in a cage. And even with the Vietnam vets, they do all these studies on the Vietnam vets about how bad heroin was and all this stuff. But they don't tell you that the majority of the Vietnam vets that came back that were addicted to heroin in Vietnam got clean on their own. They came back to a healthy, happy family or whatnot. But if anybody was in that situation, if you were put in that cage in Vietnam, I'd want to fucking, I'd want to check out too. You know, give me some of that.
They had extreme PTSD, and also the heroin was in large part brought back by the soldiers. Like not exclusively, but a large portion of it was actually brought back and like smuggled back or whatever. And then a lot of Vietnam vets that had severe PTSD, and we didn't even really know what PTSD even was back then. So like then they were just like, oh, they're all getting addicted to heroin, and it's just like, well, you don't even understand. But why are they getting addicted? Why?
Exactly.
This is the shit that they've seen and the shit that they've had to do, and a war that they had to fight. Literally, completely, like they were bamboozled. Like everybody was bamboozled in the Vietnam War. Like so, they felt like, you know, I can completely understand, you know, feeling like you were fighting for your country and doing the right thing, when in reality you were like essentially murdering a bunch of people, you know, for no reason, you know.
And then come to that realization, and then
Yeah.
what does your brain do? Oh wait, when I was over there, I was on heroin, and I didn't have to fucking think about that.
Yeah.
Let's do that again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So in my beliefs is if you can change your patterns, if you can change your habits, you can change your life. And changing your habits is actually quite simple. People don't like to hear that, because the power is all on you. And it's called neuroplasticity. So everybody has neuroplasticity. You can change your brain. The neurons that fire together wire together. And the way I like to explain it to people is this habit, this addiction. I'm not a therapist, and this is what I fall back on when I work with people, is addiction, anxiety, depression. These are all clinical terms. When I work with someone, I'm not licensed. I can't use those terms. So what I say is all of these things are a habit in your brain. They're a tenacious habit. They're a very compelling habit. They're a very well-worn habit in your brain. But the way I deal with these things is by looking at it from that aspect. So when you create a habit in your brain, it's like this well-worn path that you've gone down so many times. No grass grows there. It's wide, it's bright. You know it, and you can walk it in your sleep. Well, the first part of curbing any habit is once that automatic, thing comes on in your brain that tells you to do this thing, like have anxiety, be stressed, go use whatnot. When your brain turns on that programming, it's pushing you down that path, and you just go naturally. You don't even know why. Well, in hypnosis or in the work that I do with people, we put a roadblock up. So you're going down this path, and we go, oh, nope. And then we divert your brain to another path. And at first it's scary. There's no path there. You haven't been down here before. It's all grown over, you know? Oops, my phone just fell. It's all grown over. So it's scary at first, and it's uncomfortable at first. But once you put up that roadblock and make that neural connection, and I think scientifically they say as little as 5 times to put up that roadblock and divert to the other pathway, your brain starts making those neural connections, and then it becomes easy to go take that other pathway. Now, a lot of people in addiction, they can't even picture another pathway. They can't even picture their life being any different because they're stuck in where they are right now. And so the first thing that I do is I give them that tool to put up that roadblock, to curb any craving, to curb any habit. And then we start making the neural connections. And when I'm with them in a session, we make those neural connections, and then I future pace. I give them basically, okay, so where is this coming up next? Let's visualize, let's give your brain another option to go down in that area. So when it comes up for you, your brain already has a neural connection of what you're going to do. And it sounds so simple, but yeah, a lot of people in addiction can't even picture a different way of being. So if you're up for it,
that sounds a lot like EMDR.
it's exactly. So yes. So actually, let's get into it. So this actually comes from EMDR. This is one of the pattern interrupts, one of the roadblocks that I give people. And it's called bilateral stimulation, which is EMDR is based off of bilateral stimulation. You'll see them tapping their chest. You'll see them moving their eyes. You'll see them tapping either part of their legs. And so what this does is, and I'm not a neuroscientist, and people who are into neuroscience like to negate this or say, no, that's not how the brain works. But for my purposes, this is how I explain it. So you have two hemispheres of your brain. One is logical, one is emotional. So when you're going down a traumatic pathway, or something that brings up a lot of emotion, your logical brain literally just shuts off and your emotional brain takes over. And so what you're doing with bilateral stimulation, or the tapping or moving your eyes, is you're connecting both parts of your hemispheres in your brain, so your logical brain can come back online and tell your emotional brain, hey, we're safe. We're not there right now. We can do something else. And so here's one of them. Do you have, I'm going to do it on you. I'm not just going to show you. Do you mind being my little guinea pig?
Sure.
Okay. Do you have, and you don't have to tell me what this is, but can you come up with something, some kind of sense of anxiety for you, or a craving, or something that kind of gets you anxious or in your emotional brain?
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. And on a number of 1, let's just say 1 to 10, where would you put that anxiety right now?
Probably like a 3 or a 4.
Okay. Can you turn it up?
Can I what?
Can you turn it up to like a 5 or a 6 if you concentrate and think about it? Like, think about being there right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about people calling my phone that I didn't like. Can I just say what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I do that just in case people choose heavy stuff.
Yeah, I like, I've done this before, so I personally know that I'm probably not going to go into super heavy stuff right now, just because usually last time, personally, they started the process and they never stopped it, and they started it and they never finished it because I didn't get it there first. But yeah, so I'm thinking about somebody calling me without, like, that I don't know, or that just like calling me and just like, we didn't schedule this call, like essentially any call, it gives me anxiety.
So
And I don't pick up the phone, but I feel like I should pick up the phone because that's being rude. And so I get anxious, and I get in this whole loop of like, it's anxious because like I don't know this person, like I don't want to pick up the phone, but I should pick up the phone. And so that's what I'm thinking about right now, is somebody calling that I know, but we haven't arranged this call. So this is going to cause me anxiety. So I start to pace.
Okay. And I can kind of see that going up right now. So what number would you put that at right now?
Probably like a 5, 6.
Okay. So now, do you have something you can grab? I have a water bottle right here. Anything will work.
Water bottle.
Okay, perfect. Ready? So think of that anxiety at a 5 or a 6. Okay. Now, just take your water bottle and go back and forth. And if you want, you can watch it with your eyes, but don't move your head. And just go back and forth. And the reason this is working is because, like I said, we're getting both hemispheres of our brain back online. And when you do that, when you bring your logical brain back online, the emotional part of your brain can't keep its shit together. So ready, stop. And now think of somebody calling you.
Yeah, it's not really as stressful anymore, you know? Yeah.
Right? And you can think about the same thing. And before I could tell your anxiety was raising, you were moving your hands, your eyes. Another thing is eye accessing. I could see you recalling the memory
Yeah.
of someone calling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but now when you think about it, it's a little bit calmer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've actually done this. I used to have major panic attacks, and it's actually stopped a panic attack in its tracks for me. And I was at a 10. I was crying, hysterical, didn't know what to do. And I, somewhere in my brain, said, just toss your phone. And I had my phone in my hand. I just tossed my phone. And I said, I'm feeling anxious and I choose to feel calm. And within 30 seconds, I was out of a panic attack.
That's awesome.
So
So it can be anything repetitive. Could it even be like something? So does it have to be something physically? Like, do you have to be physically doing something, or could you be like thinking about like alternate? Like, could it be something inside your head that you're thinking about, like a pendulum inside your head, or would it have to be something physical?
it would have to be something physical because the idea is to get you out of your head.
Okay. Okay.
You can do it with your eyes as long as you're thinking, I'm feeling whatever, I'm feeling anxious and I choose to feel calm. So the
Yeah.
idea is to get out of your head. Because another fun fact is a feeling or an emotion only lasts for 45 seconds. Did you know that?
Well, yeah, I didn't know the exact time, but I usually, like, if I'm having a feeling about something, or I just like, if I need to make a decision, I usually sleep on it or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So then when I wake up, I can have a fresh, like, outlook on life, and just like view it through that lens instead of a lens that I might have been stressed out that day. I might have been anxious that day. And also just like with the addiction thing, whenever an addiction craving comes up, I literally, like, I'll just like sit with it and smoke some weed and just wait like an hour and be like, do I
Mm-hmm.
still think that's a good idea? Do I still think that that would be awesome to do? And almost like 99% of the time, it's just like, no, that is a
Right?
stupid
Nah.
idea. Like, there's no reason. You should go eat some food and you should be okay. Like, this is not,
Right?
you know? Yeah, so
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah. It only lasts 45 seconds in your brain. And what keeps it going is your internal dialogue. You bring it back up again.
Because you're
And
engaging
we
with it.
and it's all inside your head. It's all inside your head. And you don't realize that you're doing these things because it is inside your head until you're conscious of it and you know what to look for. Like, oh, this is just my brain going off. Like it gives you your power back. Like you are not powerless to anxiety, to depression, to addiction. Like it's a passion of mine. We're all so full of power. I want to empower everybody.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
want
no,
you to know that you have it.
you can literally like bring yourself all to the point of except doing the relapse. Like, you can literally run through the entire relapse in your head, and it'll play out exactly almost like you played it out in your head. Like, you'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, I'll just do it once, but then I'm gonna slip up, and then like you end up doing it once and you slip up, or you know what I mean? Like, you end up playing it up so much in your head and like connecting it and engaging with it so much that becomes what you create as your reality. You know what I mean? Because
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And you know what's funny that you say that because yes, you play it up in your head and it plays out exactly how you imagined it. Because what you do in that moment when you play it out in your head and you run it over and over and over again, you're telling your brain what you want and your brain is getting it for you.
Yeah.
So if you have the power to do that in a negative way, you have the power to do that in a positive way. And
You can
that's
always,
what I want to share with people.
yeah, you can always interrupt that, but when you're in deep in your addiction, it's really hard to interrupt a cycle like that. Like, it's possible.
Yes.
Like, I can always stop what I'm doing and be like, oh wait, should I be doing this? But when you're in your addiction, it's just like you're just literally in autopilot. You don't think about that shit. You're just like,
Yeah,
I'm literally already on the bus. Why the fuck would I get off? Why would I get off
exactly.
the bus now with like $50 in my pocket? I've already called my dealer, like everything's all set up, Why would I get off the bus? Are you kidding me?
Right?
Like, are you stupid? Like, like then you get this whole dialogue in your head that like the critics, it's just like, yeah, what the fuck? You're dumb. Don't get off the bus. Like, who would do that? Like, you're already in this. You signed up for this. You knew it. You knew
Hmm.
it was dangerous when you took your first hit. You know, like all this stuff plays off in your head. And I just get, you know, just, you know, it's the like how people talk about the devil and the angel on your shoulder. It's like it's literally like that's what's happening, but it's literally like your conscience and like your addiction on one side of their shoulder, in my opinion. You know, and it's they're fighting it out, but your addiction just it'll fucking win every time that you let it. You know,
Every time you let it. Yep,
yeah,
exactly. Every time that you let it, it will, and you have the power to not let it.
yeah.
But so the pattern interrupt, and I call it self-directed neuroplasticity, is it sounds better. I think people resonate with it better when I call it like by its scientific term. But the roadblocks are just step one, and that's so you feel empowered. And I have many other roadblocks. That's just one because you brought up EMDR, and the bilateral stimulation. But that is something to empower you, to give you a choice. Okay. And then the next level of what I do is we neutralize triggers. So the next level is, like you said, okay, I called my dealer. I got $50 in my pocket. I'm on my way. I'm on the bus. Okay. And now in that scenario, you go through with it. You meet up with your dealer, you know, and then
You're already thinking about doing the drugs when you're on the bus. You're like, this is how it's gonna feel, this is where I'm gonna be, this is where I'm gonna do it. Like all this stuff you're playing it.
exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
where I want to catch you at, like you're already on the bus, there's no other way. You're going to go do it. And then you're going to spiral. You're going to shame spiral and then beat yourself up, probably go use again. And if not, you're going to shame yourself for however long.
Yeah.
You know, which isn't productive either. So, but for me, there's a point before you're on the bus, before you have the $50, there's a point in your brain where that program turns on and you think about calling your dealer. You send that text message. Like that's your program's already running at that point. It's too late at that point. Now, what most people don't come to realize is that there is a point before that triggered you unconsciously. You might not even know what it is, you know?
Yeah. Most of the time you don't, you're in your addiction. Yeah.
Most of the time you don't. So
Yeah.
what I like to do with people is basically and addiction and the triggers are so vast. Okay. Like anything could be a trigger and I'm not inside your brain. So what I like to do with people is, okay, when was the last time specifically this came up for you? Because for me, it's like a tabletop. Okay. And if you knock off enough legs, the table's going to fall. So the tabletop is the addiction. Okay. The last time, I don't know, my mom was mean to me and I felt bad about myself and I wanted to go use. That's just one of the legs, you know? But the more legs you knock off, the weaker the tabletop gets, you know, and eventually it just all comes crumbling down. So I want to knock off however many table legs that I can. So it's like, when was the last time specifically? And then I'll ask you, you know, to go into detail about that. And then we'll be like, okay, well, how do you want that to go instead? And most people, like you said, don't understand their triggers. So I will go into it with them and kind of, it's called revivification. There we go. Revivification. Yeah. Where basically I'll ask you to go back to that moment. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you hearing? What are you smelling? You know, because all of our senses trigger the brain. You could smell something and be like, oh, it's time to use. You know, like it's that small. So I will go into it with people on their triggers, knock off as many table legs as I can. And another thing that people kind of, I don't know, blanket label addicts is you have trauma. Like, oh my God, you must have massive trauma to choose a life like this. And it's not always like that. like sometimes people do drugs because they're fucking fun, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're fun. And then your brain goes, oh wow, this is fun. This is how we have fun. And then it automates fun. And then you're
The experience you have while you're on the drugs gets associated to doing that drug because you have that experience on that drug. So you start going after that drug because you want to create more of those kind of experiences. That's extreme. That's almost to a T how meth was for me. Like when I first started using meth, it's just like, it was always like the huge, like I'd have a huge group of people and we'd all be doing it together and just like socializing and just this huge, like, I never thought I'd like connected with a person like that and just multiple people in the same night and just the night never ended. And we never slept. And like, you just like
talked about everything.
Yeah. So I associated that whole scene with doing meth. So every time I did meth, I was like, I hope I can create another situation like that, like the first time I did it, you know? Like, and you're always trying to recreate that first time, how you felt and like where you were in the circumstances. So I feel like it's definitely very circumstance heavy for me, for sure.
Yeah, it's that dopamine hit. Your brain is, oh, this is fun, this is dopamine, and this is how we get it. And then, okay, cool, this is what we want. We're gonna automate this for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So but people don't talk about that, especially people in NAAA. I mean, I do agree with the people who you know, like Gabor Mate, he's an addictions kind of guru guy, and his whole stance is that trauma, you know, he was he's a little controversial for me. I do like some of his teachings and what he says and how to get to the traumatized addict. I do not believe every addict has trauma though. And he likens himself to an addict because he was addicted to buying classical records. And then he and then he attaches it. Yeah, it's he's a little controversial. But yeah, so he was addicted to buying classical records and he linked it to a trauma to when he was under one, when his mom was like escaping communist Hungary or something like that. Now that to me is a fucking stretch, dude. Like,
yeah, that's a bit
that's a little bit of a stretch.
It could be true, but
yeah, exactly. So I do, for the people who do turn to addiction because of trauma, I do like his work, but the blanket statement that every addict has trauma is just, I don't believe that. And a lot of
they might end up creating trauma for themselves. I know I did when I started using drugs. The most fucked up shit ended up happening when I was on drugs and homeless. So if you didn't already have trauma when you started hard drugs, I can guarantee by the end of this, you're gonna have some fucking trauma. So
my trauma was minimal before I became an addict, and then I was addicted to meth for 10 fucking years, and the shit that I've seen in those 10 years, was and the shit that happened to me because of putting myself in that situation. And then going back to the program, you have exactly, based on your results, you have exactly what you intended. Okay, so I'm a piece of shit and I did this to myself exactly because I'm an addict. How is that fucking helpful to anybody? Ugh, I hate that.
It's horrible.
I hate that. It's horrible. And I was an addict before I went to the program. So then now telling, you know, a 16-year-old addict that this is all your fault. Yeah. That's gonna fucking help me. Yeah. Nope.
They just gave you an arsenal to destroy yourself. No.
Exactly. But yeah. So not every addict has trauma. They do it because they're fun. And I'm also not a firm believer in abstinence either. I smoke weed. I mean, I don't drink because I don't like the taste of alcohol. I wouldn't mind drinking. Like, I have a beer every now and then.
Particular. I'll drink cider and that's fucking it. You don't got cider, I'm not drinking shit. I'm not drinking beer. I'm not drinking anything. But if you got a good cider or mead, I'll fuck with that. You know?
Right. But you're an addict. But you're an addict. If you have one drink, you're fucking done. You know?
Yeah, of course. Like, no, your life's ruined.
Yeah, exactly. My whole sobriety journey is done because I had a fucking hard cider. Like,
social setting, in a social setting, you know, because I only drink socially, like when I'm around a really good friend, you know, and I'll have three drinks is my max. 3 drinks, I'm done. That doesn't, I don't need more than that. You know, I'm not drinking to get fucked up. I'm drinking more for the flavor, you know. Why do people drink cider and mead, you know, like for the flavor, you know? So it's more for the flavor and just like, you know, social setting, you know. But then when the night's done, you know, I don't get hung over and like, oh my God, I need to drink more alcohol. It just doesn't work. I have beer right now, or cider right now in my fridge, and I don't drink it, you know.
Right.
So
Right. So this abstinence thing, I don't get on board with either. Because most people, whether they've had a problem with drugs or alcohol or not, and this isn't in the statistics because they don't go to treatment, but they get over it on their own. Like how many people who are in college, you know, who don't have trauma, who are fucking cokeheads and drinking all week long, and then they graduate college and then they go on with their life and have a good job and maybe do blow every now and then, you know, like because people do it.
Yeah, for people that I wouldn't consider them friends now, but people that I knew back in the day, you know, they were what we called functioning addicts.
Yeah.
Actually, and I always really kind of envied them. I'm like, you motherfucker, like how could you, like, you could just really just do that? Like I wish I could do that, you know, like, but not
right
really.
now.
You know, if I
Don't get me wrong.
you know,
no, exactly. The functional addicts. But they exist out there, and I don't even know if I would call them addicts. They're just users. They just use drugs, and it's fine for them, and that's okay. Like, and because to me, an addiction is when it becomes a problem in your life. It's negatively affecting your life, and not all drugs and alcohol do that. And I smoke weed. I don't drink. I do like psychedelics. I don't feel like I'm addicted to psychedelics. But I enjoy that community. Like I love the hippie free thinkers, and I feel like, I feel like everybody should probably do some mushrooms in their life.
Yeah, at least microdose, because I microdose mushrooms. You know, I don't really like out, but I like the microdose, like, because it really helps with anxiety, just clearing the head and stuff like that. But I personally don't really like to trip because I've had bad experiences. My first trip was like just like fucking. Every time I've gotten high around other people or just like gotten high in general, I always feel like I'm so much more fucked up than everybody else, and nobody can ever understand what I'm experiencing right now. And then I just feel like alone, and I'm just like, God damn it. So then you know,
I used to feel like that. I used to feel like that too. And then I guess I just found a really good community because we're all like, it was this one specific moment, and sometimes it only takes one time for you to like be like, get that flip switched, where I was feeling just like that. And I was like, oh my God, like I can't talk. Nobody's going to understand me. Like, and I couldn't talk to anybody. And the person I was with was like, literally pulled me out of myself and said, look at everybody around you. And I looked at everybody, and they were fucking way more fucked up than I was, like way more out there. And I was like, yeah, we're all on the same level. Like that stupid, you know, like hippie dip, like, yeah, we're all on the same level and it's great, you know? And I don't do psychedelics all the time, like literally maybe twice a year. But it is something that I enjoy. I don't feel like I'm an addict, and I don't think I fucked up my sobriety because I do that. Like, you know, they're fun. And I think
I'm still sober. I've been sober over 4 years, but I smoke weed every fucking day. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I still say that too.
Normal. They need to start normalizing that again, you know? I mean, for some people, if you have a problem with weed, I understand there's some people that literally, you know, it's extremely rare, like probably less than 1%, maybe less than 0.5%, but there are people that, you know, actually go to rehab for weed and like actually have problems with weed. Like I've met a few of them when I was in fucking rehab or whatever, that were like, yeah, I'm here for weed. I was like, wait, you're here for what? It's like, you're really here for weed? Like, yeah, I can't stop smoking. It's just like, what are you talking about?
Right?
Like, what are you talking about? Like, and if you're underage, like that's a different story. But I just feel like,
Yeah,
weed doesn't really destroy lives like alcohol,
I
definitely,
I don't feel like it does either.
No,
I don't feel like it does either. What's
yeah,
that one movie? It's the famous movie with Bob Saget. You ever suck dick for weed, man?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Like,
That doesn't happen,
yes,
you know?
definitely. Um, but yeah, I totally forgot where I was at. Because yeah, I've never sucked dick for weed.
Yeah, yeah, definitely not, definitely not.
I'm not out here stealing and robbing people for weed, dude.
Yeah,
Um, oh, that's where I was. Yeah. So Carl Hart. Carl Hart is another one. Do you know Carl Hart?
sounds familiar.
He
Sounds,
is a Harvard professor who has written a couple books. One is, I believe it's Drugs Are Fun. I believe that's the name of his book.
that's like
And
an awesome.
yeah, and he's a Harvard professor and he talks about addiction. He talks about doing it responsibly. He talks about how he does heroin all the time. Like he talks about and he studies because he's a Harvard professor
Yeah,
the science of addiction and how it's not physical. The physical only lasts so long.
yeah,
And it is a mental game. So he's another one that I would look into. Carl Hart. And of course, when I say this, I'm not talking to, the person who's actively in active addiction, homeless right now. Like, don't go listening to Carl Hart and be like, Carl Hart says I can do heroin. Like, that's
yeah,
not what I'm
yeah.
saying.
Especially if you're homeless and have nothing, like already, it's just like probably don't listen to that advice. I don't
Yes.
like you should probably like see where you're at and be like drugs aren't fun for you. They're probably like
Yeah.
the complete opposite, and you should probably. But people aren't gonna think about that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No, but this is me and you talking. I have 15 years sober. You have 4 years sober. Like, this is,
yeah,
this is not for the person in active addiction. In active addiction, yes, I would agree with stay away from people, places, and things that trigger you, especially in the beginning, until you can kind of groove those other neural networks, create a wider path in your brain for those neural networks, and allow that other path to kind of grow over. Because when you don't use a neural network, it does eventually grow over. And so, yeah, this is not for people on step one.
yeah. Also, like try to avoid people that are yes men when you're in active addiction. You put
Yes.
yourself around yes men that want to use drugs all the time. What are you gonna do? Use drugs all the time?
Yes.
That would be my
Yes.
advice. Stop putting yourself around all yes men that just like, will, say what you want to hear and just, yes, let's do more drugs. Yes, you should spend your last $20. What are you
Hmm.
talking, try and avoid those people if you can,
Yeah, definitely. Because they're not looking out for you. They're just looking
No,
out for themselves.
no, they're trying to
Absolutely.
get a free high. That's what happens.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're trying to
Hmm.
get stuff out of you. And then when you're not useful to them, they'll be gone so fast before you can blink an eye, guaranteed.
Yep. They're on to the next one.
Yep,
The next person in their moment of weakness that they can capitalize on.
yep, yep.
Yep. So I totally agree with that. I don't agree with giving your power away to God. I don't agree with you know, uh, this is another touchy subject, but to a higher power, however you see him, you have all the power. You don't
Yeah.
need to give it up to somebody. And then another
Exactly. And for like just like a disclosure or whatever, if that does like my thing about religion, if it works for you, then do it. You know what I mean? But personally, like religion doesn't work for me. It never really has. But I mean, if it does help you, whatever gets you sober, man. Like whatever,
absolutely.
like if it gets you so, if it can keep you sober and like you wake up every day and like I have to be good or whatever it is, whatever you feel it is with religion, like or even just like that love that you might have never felt in your life from something outside of you. If it works for you, then do it. But I just want to clarify that we're just speaking about us specifically, and for
Mhm.
me, like religion just never really worked for us. I
Exactly.
personally believe that there's definitely something probably more than us, but I don't know what that is. So I would consider myself more of an agnostic. You
Me
know,
too.
borderline
Me too.
atheist. I'm just more of like I need to see like physical evidence, and stuff like that. And I don't know. Personally,
Absolutely.
that's just how it is for me, you know?
Yeah. And
But I've had
yeah,
experiences in my life that I can't explain, and I'll say that, you know, so. But
exactly. And I feel the same way. Same way. Agnostic. I always tell people I'm agnostic because yes, I believe there is something out there bigger than ourselves. There is a bigger purpose. I believe more in energies,
yeah,
and that kind of realm rather than a man God figure,
yeah,
as kind of people understand it. And I always tell people to, you know, just like you said, if you believe in God, I can work with that. I'm open to your beliefs. We're not working with my beliefs here. We're working with your beliefs. And if
yeah,
you believe with God, that's how I will refer to it as.
yeah,
And same thing with NA and AA. If
yeah,
I work with somebody who already has that kind of ingrained in them and that has helped them and they do find value in it, me and your higher power are going to work together to make these 12 steps as easy as possible for you.
yeah,
You know, I'm not here to talk you out of it. Again, these are not my beliefs. We're working with your beliefs here. And I can adapt to whatever you believe. My beliefs don't I don't know, inform my work when I work with other people. Yeah,
yeah,
this is just me and you talking.
yeah. What works for me might not necessarily work for the other person, you know?
Exactly.
In fact,
And
it might
I'm
do the opposite, you know? It might actually hurt you, you know? So,
exactly. And that's the last thing I want.
yeah, me too.
And whatever resonates with you, I'm here to help you and I will adapt to whatever you believe.
Yeah,
Really. Um but yeah, so like yeah, I don't believe in the higher power. I believe in empowering people. But another one that I wanted to kind of share is Stanton Peele. He has what's called a life process program. He's an alternative to NA and AA. I don't know how much he does offer an online course and online support group. He has an online Facebook group where his whole stance is anti-NAAA. And he it's called the life purpose or no life process program because he believes that in having a purpose in your life, you naturally kind of deviate away from the drugs because you don't need to numb that part of you anymore.
Did you mean
And
did you mean the life purpose? Because you said life
yes,
process. Life purpose.
yes.
Okay.
Have you
Okay.
heard of it?
No, no, but I was just because
Oh,
then you said purpose, and I was like, did you mean
oh, okay.
purpose?
Yes, maybe it is. Yes, I have it written down. Where is it?
Life purpose project. Or
I think so. Just do yeah, Stanton Peele. It's life process program. Life process
okay,
program.
okay, okay,
Okay,
okay.
let me
All
correct myself. Life
right.
process program by Stanton Peele.
Okay.
And it's an online basically rehab, outpatient rehab. They all of the people that he employs, all of his I don't know, guest counselors that he employs are ex-addicts. So it's not some clinical guy, you know, and they're not doing the typical abstinence or, you know, beat down. They really focus on giving your life a purpose and believe that that's step one. Because as soon as you have the alternative to what you're doing now, it makes it easier to go down that path. So I just want to throw that out there. And I'm actually part of this Facebook group. I haven't posted in there a while, but but yeah, I joined his Facebook group and I used to, you know, post in there and just talk to people and uplift them and just be supportive. I really do have a passion for helping people. I've been there. And I think that's why I have such a passion for it. I mean, I've spent thousands of dollars doing these hypnosis courses and not to make money. Like this is not my career at all. Like I have a completely different career. I did it because I'm passionate about it and because it saved me. It was to a point where I couldn't even go to the grocery store. I was having panic attacks because I was worried that people were going to watch me. My son was young at the time and I had a crying baby in the grocery store and I would have a panic attack because I thought everybody was watching me and judging me. And I'd have to leave the grocery store with my son. And it got to a point where I didn't even want to leave the house anymore, you know, and like I've been in these dark moments, and I've been through traditional therapy as well. I was in traditional therapy for 2 years working on my anxiety and depression, and kind of the program came up, you know, I talked about all that, and a lot of my traumas I talked about. And in traditional therapy, they give you a scale, so you have to do a test every time, and it measures all of these levels or whatnot on a scale of 1 to 100. And after 2 years of therapy, I was still in the 80s on my anxiety, depression, and CPTSD symptoms. And I basically was like, what's, you know, like I have all of this information, and I know all of the things that are happening in my brain, like where anxiety comes from, and it's not logical, and I just have to think differently, and all of this stuff, right? But it wasn't integrating. I didn't know how to do it. And then when I found hypnosis and these kind of brain training tricks, it changed my life. It changed my life. And I just want to share that with people. And also microdosing. So I was studying hypnosis, and I had just been getting into it, going to therapy for 2 years, wasn't seeing any type of movement on my stats. And then my husband actually was like, well, have you tried microdosing? I was like, no, I haven't. Let's give that a shot. And this is already, I believe I was studying hypnosis for not quite a year, under a year, over 6 months. Let's just say that, between 6 months and a year. And and I and I did the microdosing, and I think I did one cycle. I think I did it for like 3 months or something like that. And at the end of that 3 months, my stats dropped from the 80s to the teens. Like I think I was 19 or something like that.
Damn.
And at that point, like I can't explain it. They're magic mushrooms for a reason. It was magical because all of this information that I had in my head, it just kind of clicked. It's like all the puzzle pieces kind of fell into place. I was digging deeper into the hypnosis and these brain training tricks, and everything was just making sense. I was like, oh my God, this makes sense to me. Oh my God, this is, like, this is what we're going to do. And I started putting it to use and just kept, learning more and more and more, everything that I could, buying all the courses, going to all the seminars and all the conventions, and just learning everything that I could. And I literally changed my life. And even after that, I was still clean. So I haven't done meth since February 5th, 2008. And I had I call it my mental breakdown in like 2019, 2020. And because it happened shortly before the pandemic, but of course the pandemic just exasperated everything. And then Paris Hilton's show came out, or her Netflix thing came out, and it was just like an avalanche of events for me in 2020. But at that point, I was still, I mean, what is that? 12 years clean, something like that.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. So I was still not using, and my life was not any better. Like, I mean, of course, wait, let me take that back. Retract that statement. It was a lot better. I wasn't homeless. I had my family. I had a job. It was a lot better, but my mental state was not any better. My mental state was not any better having been clean for that long. And so it wasn't the drugs for me. And at that point too, I had an eating disorder. I had binge eating disorder. So instead of drugs, I turned to food, which how can that be bad? Like I'm not ruining my life. I'm not, robbing people for my next cookie fix. I just couldn't stop eating. That's what numbed me out. So I just switched drugs, and nobody cared about that, like nobody cared about that. And I've since lost 100 pounds. So like when I say these tips and tricks change my life, they really changed my life. So I'd like to give you a couple more kind of curbing the habits. So we did the bilateral stimulation. Another one is, have you heard of EFT, emotional freedom techniques, tapping?
I know the tapping.
Okay, so there's tapping, and they do it on the meridian. And again, all of this is bilateral. Like it's meant to connect your mind and body and get those both parts of your whole brain working at the same time.
Yeah,
So
this, right?
I don't do that. There's many different tappings. I do what's called faster EFT, so faster emotional freedom technique, and I forgot the guy's name. Lots of names in my head. But I did not come up with this. I just want to say that this is somebody else's technique, and it's a 6-point tapping system. And I believe, actually, he does a 5-point tapping system. And then the way that I learned, we add the 6-point on top of the head because that's in a chakra, like in a stress chakra, I guess in Chinese, not mythology. I can't think of the word, but yeah. So again, you're stressed, and I won't make you recall something stressful. I won't do that again. I'll just show it to you. So, but this is in time of a craving, stress, anger, and any emotion that you feel is taking over. And you tap the top of your head, and you just say, I release and let it go, or I'm feeling stressed and I choose to feel calm. And you tap the top of your head, you tap your third eye right here. So 1, 2, you tap the outside or the inside of your eye right here, to the outside of your eye right here, and then on your collarbone right here.
Okay, so you just work your way down.
And you go, so you say, I release and let it go. Take a deep breath. Exhale twice as long. I release and let it go. Take a deep breath. Exhale twice as long. I release and let it go. Like that. I release and let it go. And then I release and let it go. And then at the end of that, you'll be calm. And then I like to add in this. It's called an anchoring point. You grab your wrist, just like this. And you take a deep breath. And you say, I feel peace. And I can feel it right now just because I just did it. But it releases this sense of peace and calm. And of course the breathing helps as well. Yeah. But when you do that, you'll literally feel it, the peace come over you. And it's really trippy when you do it, especially in a time of high anxiety. Because just like the bottle tossing, it down regulates your nervous system in a really crazy way and fast. So that's faster EFT, if you want to look into that. And then so we had the bilateral stimulation, we had the faster EFT. Another one I like to call is shift. What is it? Shift out and shut up. Because like I said, your emotions only last for 45 seconds at a time. Your internal rhetoric is what keeps it going. So actually do this one with me. I'll do it with you. Okay.
Okay.
So find a focal point on the wall or anything straight in front of you where your eyes are straight. Anything. Okay. Take a deep breath. And exhale twice as long. And keep staring at that spot. Now, as you stare at that spot, I want you just to soften your gaze just a little bit and shift into your peripheral vision and notice everything around that spot. And as you're noticing everything around that spot, expand your awareness to the walls without moving your eyes, without moving your head. Just with your softened vision, expand into your peripheral vision as if you could see the walls, as if you could feel the walls. And as you're shifting out, I want you to shift out your awareness all the way to as if you could see the wall behind you. And just bring it back into focus and come back to now.
Yeah, that felt crazy. That felt
right. You almost look a little stoned.
Yeah.
You probably are, but
yeah, definitely.
But yeah. So that's a fun one, and that can be done anytime. Anytime you're feeling it. I do it sometimes in traffic. And if you notice, I call it shift out and shut up, because as you're expanding your awareness and you're focusing on everything that is not the spot that you're staring at, your mind shuts down. Your internal dialogue shuts off. You're trying to see the walls. You're trying to expand your awareness to the walls behind you. You're not thinking about whatever you were just thinking about. So it shuts off that internal dialogue. And you can do it with anything. You can do it, like I said, I do it driving sometime. I just stare at the car in front of me and I shift out into peripheral. Sometimes when I'm in a meeting, I'll do it. But yeah, that's something that you can do anytime. And you don't have to close your eyes for it. You don't have to be under hypnosis. Like, and a lot of people think a big misconception with hypnosis is that I'm doing something to you. And I'm not doing anything to you. I'm kind of just guiding you. It's kind of like meditation with a goal. And I can't make you do anything you wouldn't want to do. Nor would I do that, because I'm not a stage hypnotist. And even then, that's another thing all on its own. Not what I do. But a lot of what I do is also conversational. It can be done conversational, especially people who, I know a lot of Cross Creek girls, I forget which therapist it was, tried to use like hypnosis on them. And so they have kind of an aversion to it. So I tell them, I tell people, I'm cognizant of that. I haven't worked with any Cross Creek girls, but I am cognizant of that. And so I do tell people, we don't have to do a formal trance at all. I can do this all conversationally. I can look at your eyes and know where you're accessing this information. If this was a memory for you, if this is like right here for you, if you're still in it, if you're still feeling it, because your eyes do what's called a transdimensional search. Man, these words. So it'll search for this information, and your eyes do move in certain ways when it's searching for information, for a recalled memory, for a constructed image. If you're hearing things, if you're going through internal dialogue, you look down. So it's like I can do this conversationally, and there doesn't have to be a formal trance, and I'm not doing anything to you. Like, I have no power. It's all you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to show you one more thing. This is a fun trick, okay? And people at home can do this too. But this shows you the power of your brain, okay? So follow me and put your arm right straight out in front of you.
Does it matter which arm?
No. Okay? And move it behind you as far as you can. Just moving your upper torso. You can move your torso and your head, okay? And just move it as far as you can, and just make a mental note on the wall how far you can go.
Okay.
Okay. Now come back. Okay. Now I won't make you close your eyes, but just imagine. Typically, I would make you close your eyes, but now just imagine. Okay, doing that again. Don't do it physically, but just imagine it in your brain, and just imagine yourself going 50% farther. And then imagine yourself going that much farther and coming back. Now take a deep breath. Exhale twice as long. Okay. Now I want you to imagine doing the same thing with your arm. Don't do it physically, just imagine. Okay. This is all with just the power of your imagination. And imagine yourself doing the same thing, sticking your arm out, going around. And this time you keep spinning, and you spin and you spin and you spin. Okay. And now imagine spinning all the way back and coming back to now.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing that wait.
Wait. Now, do it again physically. Okay. Put your arm straight out in front of you and turn your body and see how far you can go.
A little bit farther.
Yeah. Everybody goes a little bit farther. Just by imagining it. Now, typically, I would, like, if I was in a session with you, I'd make you close your eyes. I'd probably do that about 3 times before I made you spin, and coming back to now. And typically people go a lot farther. But even just, just a simple 2-second of this technique, you went a little bit farther.
Yeah.
Everybody goes a little bit farther. Now, had I done the full thing, you would have been like, holy shit, I went a lot farther. But that's just, it's the power of your imagination. You're so powerful in your brain. And I just want people to know that. And I would like to offer services to any of the program kids who are struggling right now. I'd be happy to talk with them. I'd be happy to work with them. Typically, I don't like to charge for my services because this is a passion project. Now, sometimes I have. There is a power behind money and wanting it, especially for people in addiction. They kind of negate it if it's too easy, and so there has to kind of be like there's this joke that I always say is how does a change worker or how does a psychologist change a light bulb? The light bulb has to want to change, Yeah. So I'm not a miracle worker, and there is some kind of psychology behind the transfer of money. But I anybody who's been in a program, I would never charge. If you want to reach out to me and we can schedule some time, sometimes my schedule gets pretty hectic. But if I can schedule some time, I'm totally willing to do that. But yeah, I'm so happy that you allowed me to talk about this. Anything that I can do to help people and get this information out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for come back on again in the future if you want. And I think I hope this is helpful for a lot of people, or at least some people, And thank you again for coming on. If you guys have watched so far in the video, please make sure you give the video a like, subscribe if you're not already, because we're almost at 1,000, and it'd really be fucking awesome if I reached that by my birthday. But if not, it's chill. We'll get there eventually. And so please make sure you're sharing the videos and comment down below. I'd love to meet you. And if you want to share your story, leave a comment down below and we'll make it happen. Until then, you guys have a wonderful night, and I hope you guys take care. We'll see you in the next one. Hold on 1 second. Okay, bye, y'all.